How are we feeling after that eclipse? Ooh, okay. This is Taylor Ursula of That's So Pisces, and whew, all right, we've got a first quarter moon in Capricorn to explore, so let's do it. Okay, so last week's eclipse was a lot, all right, a lot. And as we discussed in that video, there may have been some material from the eclipse that is kind of still shaking out over the course of this week leading up to this first quarter moon in Capricorn. Most significantly, perhaps, being part of the Mercury cazimi that we're experiencing at 26 degrees of Libra that is taking place after both the Sun and Mercury have opposed Chiron and moved through the South Node configuration. So they have had a lot to talk about, a lot to check in about. There are new laws being put into effect at this time, right? We're thinking about Libra and air and agreements, arrangements, boundaries, okay? So we're resetting what has been unfair. We are rebalancing what has been askew, and that is pretty dramatic stuff. Okay, and we also mentioned at last week's eclipse the importance of Pluto, and Pluto is also quite present in the buildup to this first quarter moon in Capricorn at 28 degrees. You may recall that Pluto is at about 28 degrees of Capricorn, just shy of it, right? It's stationed at 27 and some change. And so it is slowly making its way back through those final degrees of Capricorn. So Mercury post cazimi will square Pluto the day before this first quarter moon. And in the midst of this first quarter moon, the Sun will square Pluto. So on the same day that the Sun is squaring the moon at 28 degrees, the Sun is also squaring Pluto. Okay, so like, what does it mean? So in that Libra eclipse video, I talked a little bit about how the moon squaring Pluto as part of that eclipse may be some urge to emotionally break free from some restraints that we've been allowing or otherwise participating in, that we recognize are no longer for us, that we need to sort of break out of. So with the new moon squaring Pluto, we sort of integrated that emotionally. Something was brought to the surface to our emotional awareness. And so with Mercury and the Sun now squaring Pluto, there are sort of external consequences to this Pluto activity. Mercury gives name to things. Mercury expresses things. So we may be verbalizing some discomfort or some disdain for some pattern that we're a part of. And the Sun is where we integrate on a conscious level. So the Sun entering into that square with Pluto is where we sort of on the surface level finally take that step, right? The Sun is who we're becoming day by day. Everything is orbiting around the Sun. And so the Sun is showing us where we are sort of consciously catching up to what has emotionally been exposed and made aware, and what now has been given a name and is entering our language, right? And interesting too to think about how at the Libra new moon eclipse, the moon squared Pluto, and at this first quarter moon in Capricorn, the moon is now conjunct Pluto, being squared by the moon. Nope, squaring the Sun rather. So something in this week has kind of shape shifted, right? Where we were emotionally maybe at odds with something and yearning to break free, we've now integrated emotionally with that new sort of awareness of what power might mean to us. And we're having to integrate those conscious, unconscious parts of ourselves in this first quarter moon to know if we are following up on what became known to us at the new moon. Something pleasant we can expect here is that this is the day of the trine between Venus and Jupiter. you may recall that while Venus was in Leo, we had a month-long square between Venus and Jupiter in Taurus. And that was a lot of energy. We maybe felt pressured to be more than we could be at that time. We may have felt larger than life in a way that became uncomfortable. There may have been a lot being stirred up within us that was taking on much more energetically than it would have typically if that square had just been a one and done. So now with this trine, there's something more easeful at play here. There's something more grounded. We have both these planets in earth signs now. Technically, Venus is in its detriment here. And so there is something about maybe getting creative about how we're navigating this time. This is somewhat of a chaotic moment that we're in. And so there is something maybe beneficial that we can extract from what we're learning at this time and what we're stepping into. Maybe we're able to find friendship and camaraderie at a time where some of our deeper interpersonal dynamics are being a little bit tested. We may find some sort of opportunity outside of what is happening here in the heat of the moment. So there's something bountiful that's possible here at this first quarter moon. This is also the day that Mercury enters Scorpio. So Mercury will be at the 29th degree of Libra at this lunation, and that might make things tense as well. The moon in Capricorn will square that Mercury. So there is something being expressed maybe in a big way at this time. And then Mercury is joining Mars in Scorpio, and they'll begin preparing for their conjunction, which is soon. So we're still in a place of tension. First quarter moons, third quarter moons, they're both tense, they're squares. So we're still in this period of buildup. We're in this period of figuring out what the heck has just been opened up. All right, so let's go ahead and pull some cards and get an idea of what we're navigating at this time. What kind of expectations do we hold for ourselves now? How are we meeting those? What can we make sense of at this time? Let's take a look. I'll see you there.
Okay, so here we can see our pull from the Libra new moon eclipse. If you missed this, head up to this link now, go check that out. It is quite an epic pull, and meet me back here and we will dive into the Capricorn first quarter pull. Okay, let's get started. As always, if you'd like to pull along with the spread for yourself, this free PDF is available on my website, and it contains all 4 of the moon pull spreads, so you can pull for yourself all month long, and that is in the description of the video. Okay, so at this first quarter moon, we are checking in about the following questions. We are looking at energy that is accumulating now. We are looking at the doubts and complications that may be arising with this energy. It's a lot of energy. Gifts that we can access through this energy. What can we make use of now? What can we make sense of now? And 4 lessons that we are able to make sense of as we approach the full moon. So maybe gifts is just what we can make use of, and the last question is what we can make sense of. I unlump those together. Okay. So we will, I'm feeling like a couple more. Yeah. One more. Here we go. This is the one. Okay. Let's go ahead and take a look. Okay. So, energy that is accumulating now. Okay. Page of Swords. We are opening up our minds. Honestly, I was kind of pleasantly surprised that we didn't see any swords in the eclipse pull. So here they are now, right? We're cozying up to Pluto. We've got the moon on Pluto, and we have Mercury at 29 degrees of Libra, ready to move into Scorpio. And so there is a push for new information. We're not yet breaking out of what is old. That's happening in the night beyond the page. So in the night is where we see ourselves actually breaking free from what we've been thinking within to this point. So kind of breaking free of an old schema, breaking free of an old set of patterns, and moving forth into something else that calls to us. So here in the page, we're just kind of cracking open the door. We're kind of just getting a sense of, oh, there is something else out there. I am currently within the bounds of these squares, but I recognize that my kite has the capacity to move beyond them, and I can kind of focus on this hawk here, who is actively sort of moving between the outside and the inside of this framework here. So energy that is accumulating now is a curiosity, is a desire to know more, to think freely. An activation is happening. A seed has been planted about something else mentally that is possible for us. Okay. So doubts and complications that arise with this energy. I was just thinking about the Nine of Wands and how we have to endure. I think we're really in a time of endurance right now. If we think about ourselves and what we've talked about regarding the retrograde summer, regarding what Venus is doing in Virgo before making its way home to Libra after a long, long summer. And in Virgo, Venus is not tremendously comfortable. There was also that opposition to Saturn. And we just keep talking about how much we don't know at this time. So here we are starting to open up to what else we can know, but at this point we're also really tired. We are wondering how much of this we can endure. We are maybe approaching burnout in terms of being open to trust and having faith in something that we haven't been able to see or experience in a tangible way. Getting glimpses of what's possible for us, but not being there yet, still needing to be present, still needing to finish this task at hand, or still needing to wind down this road. And so there's just been so much thought about when we get there, when we eventually get there, when it eventually becomes clear, when we finally gain some clarity. And we keep wondering when that's going to be. So it makes a lot of sense that we are thinking about how am I going to keep going? Because it's not the idea that we're almost there. I think that's a sometimes false interpretation of this Nine of Wands. Because when we reach the 10, the cycle's not done. We realize that this goes on forever. This suit is different than others. The 10 doesn't end the wands. The wands burn on within us indefinitely. So this is not like you're almost there, hang tight. This is like I'm only in the middle of this winding road and there's so much more to continue down. So what do I need for myself? What do I need to give myself? What sort of resources do I need to help me endure this journey that I'm on? And we can think about this collectively as well. How much we've already endured, how much groups of people have already endured, and how much more. And it's just we have to keep going. And so that absolutely makes sense as a doubt and a complication. There's no end to putting energy into this or fighting for this. So what do I need right now? Gifts that we can access through this energy. Oh, okay. The ending of something. That feels appropriate as we build up to the final Taurus full moon eclipse. The nodes have moved on, and we have one more story to witness here with this final eclipse on this axis. And so something is certainly coming to a close. What might that look like for you? You're opening up to new information, new possibilities, new ways of thinking. Last week we talked about our relationships being imbalanced, and we entered into the death card, right? Where we knew that there was something deeper that needed to be explored beyond those relational imbalances. And so there's something else coming to an end. As we think about what we have to keep going for, that our heart beats as long as we live, and that we keep going, doesn't end, we don't stop. What are we able to put down? What is ending? What tangibly, thinking about this as a gift, right? What are we able to end? What are we able to reflect on and let go of and move through now in a way that feels positive, in a way that is a gift, in a way that is helpful to us? We got to end something to open up to something else, right? Okay, and lessons that we can make sense of. We can't make sense of everything, right? But we can make sense of some things. We are human. That is our inclination, is to try to find sense. Okay. So lessons we can make sense of as we approach the full moon. I often talk about this as creative energy. So as we look at these wands, thinking about what I can pour myself into, how I can keep showing up, right? If we look at this beyond the creative lens, it absolutely speaks to how we encounter others, and there is a lot of fighting right now. It's a very Five of Wands vibe. It's not the Five of Swords where everyone loses, but it is very heated, and it is about standing up and putting ourselves out there. We're not all meant to fight the same fight. We're not all meant to create the same creations. So we are meant to open up to what's coming in for us, ending something that is ready to be done with, and thinking about how we are destined to show up, or maybe not destined. Let's take that off the table. Maybe let's say, because we're in an eclipse period, right? Where we are seeing many fated events take place, but we are also being activated to choose. And so what do we choose to stand up for? What have we, and what can we reflect on having stood up for before, having advocated for before, having created before, having fought for before? And has that changed? Is that changing now that our framework is opening up? Is that changing now that something's coming to an end? What can you make sense of in terms of what it is you fight for, what it is you stand for, and maybe what choices you are making in this moment and can make about what that looks like for you? Okay. All right, we're going to continue this narrative with next week's Taurus full moon eclipse. We'll see how that narrative finally wraps up. That's been 18 months. So we'll get a long-awaited finale with that. If you enjoyed this, please like it, please share, please subscribe, and thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you next time.